Like the difference is just
chalk and cheese.
Yeah, completely. And it's so worth it.
If you're doing everything yourself, yeah, for sure, you're saving a few bucks on the back end of it. But are you spending like an extra 2-3 hours a day doing this stuff? Really start to kind of ease yourself in, because I don't know about you, but it can be really intense when you're like, getting straight into the heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it hits you like a bus sometimes. You're like, what is all this? I'm only here to make money. I don't want to spend money.
What are you talking about, spending my money? No. Welcome to the Handmade Bosses Show. I'm Steph, and my mission is to help you start, run, and scale an online handmade business and build a creative life you love. So bosses, let's help you get your amazing products out there and get the sales you deserve. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Handmade Bosses Show. I'm here with Sophie.
Hi.
Today we're going to be talking all about how to invest in your business, because I know that a lot of you, when you start to make sales, you're like, oh no, this is great. And I feel like half the time a lot of people are like, money, let's go out and buy a new handbag, clothes, car, whatever. And then you kind of do that. And then you end up in a situation where you're like, oh, okay, now I don't have the money to buy stuff I need for the business. The other half of you are probably like hoarding money because you're like, oh, okay, I need to make sure that I've got a fund behind me. And it seems to be, I don't know about you, but it seems to be like the two extremes that we get.
Yeah, and I was definitely the first one.
Yeah, no, I've been the first one as well, believe me.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking about how to invest, how to kind of like sit in the middle of those two extremes. So how to invest in your business, what to invest in. We're going to be talking about the kind of mistakes that we've made and all that good stuff. But before we get into it, if you could go onto iTunes and leave us a review, that would be amazing. And Sophie would love you forever because she's in charge of the podcast. So
yes, please do it.
Okay, shall we kick things off with you, Sophie? Because you've actually written down more points than I have. So
well, I tell you what has just popped into my head though while you've been chatting about that is the fact that I've been trading now for like 3-4 years, and I've only in the past year got a proper business account where I put a percentage, like I transfer 30% into like a little sub account for my tax, and I never did that before. So that is one thing that I would, from the bat, let's just get that out there right now, is transfer a good chunk of money into a sub account where you don't touch for your tax.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a little bit under 30%, but I always put 30% in because then at the end of the year I get a nice bonus.
Yeah. I mean, it's now don't quote me on this because I'm not an expert, but I've just spoken to my accountant actually literally the day before recording this, and I think it's 20% basic rate, and then it can go up to 45% if you're earning, I think it's over like the 150,000 a year mark. But basically you have, if you earn over 50,000, it then jumps up to, I want to say 25 or 30%. Again, make sure you check that. So, and often this can happen sort of like, if we're talking Christmas time, you're not really in the mindset of, oh, wait a minute, I need to make sure to put money aside. So it's always best to put a little bit more aside. And plus you've got, if you're in the UK, you've got your national insurance to think about as well. So it's not just the 20% tax, it can be that little bit more. And plus your accountant fees, if you have one, and the bookkeeping, even if you're using things like QuickBooks, that costs money. So it's always good to put something else aside.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, now that I do that, it's kind of like a big relief, kind of like, I've got that, I've got my tax, it's all there, it's ready to go, should I need it? So that would be the first thing I would say, is make sure that you've got a proper system in place for your finances before you even start to invest. Yes,
because I mean, as we all know, if you have got debt, a lot of the time the amount you save and the interest that you get, which if you're in the UK right now, is basically nothing, but it doesn't outweigh like the interest that you get on like loans and stuff like that. So it's always best to kind of look at that before you're beginning to invest in if you're going to do stocks and shares and things like that. But that's not the kind of investing that we're talking about today, but just to kind of know if you're sat down, because I think that probably quite a lot of you watching, a bit like us, we sit down with like a spreadsheet and a brew, and we're like, right, let's sort this out. And it's just a couple of little notes just to make sure that, if you're thinking about like trying to save up, then always look at like the interest on loans and see if that outweighs stuff. But yeah, just thought I would just slide that in there.
Fun stuff.
It's all fun stuff. But yeah, that's why it's really important to kind of know what you're paying each month. So I think really for me, actually, like a little step one would be to either track for like 2 months or go back through your bank for the last 2 to 3 months and really keep a track business wise what you spend. So like if you've got a subscription that you're like, I don't know why I still have this, get that out of there, get rid of it. If you're spending a lot of money buying, let's say you buy like 10 Jiffy bags at a time, can you save cash by buying like 100, 200, 500 or 1,000, like in my case? Can you save cash doing it that way? It's just really start to kind of ease yourself in, because I don't know about you, but it can be really intense when you're like, getting straight into the heavy stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like it hits you like a bus sometimes. You're like, what is all this? I'm only here to make money. I don't want to spend money.
But she's talking about spending my money. No.
Yeah, so it can be, especially when you kind of think of postage fees, the packaging fees, and then even just like setting up your website fees, the host for your website. So everything has got to be paid for. So if you can kind of be sensible with it from the get-go, you should be fine. You should be fine.
100%. Okay, so do you want to kick things off with your first point?
Yeah, so I would say invest in your brand would be the first one. So when you're starting out, you've kind of made your own logo, which is fine. You're doing your own cover photos for Etsy. You've made your own business cards, and that's really fine. You can get away with that for a good while, maybe even for the first 6 to 12 months, because you can use things like Canva, who are absolutely brilliant. I would 100% recommend them. Even on their free version is really, really good. So it's not even as if you need to pay for it, even though it's not a lot to pay for each month. But yeah, branding, I would get that up and running first of all. And it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg, because you can always send your, I'm going to really sound really cheapskatey now.
It's fine.
You can. I don't know if it's available elsewhere, but in the UK, we have this thing called free prints, right? And you get so many free prints each month. And you have to pay, I think it's like £2 postage. It's next to nothing, right?
Yeah.
And they're really good for flyers because they're really good quality. So if you're sending something that needs a flyer, do you know, like a candle care kit, care instructions, or like you do with your jewellery, where you've got like how to care for your jewellery, get on free prints.
I didn't think about that. That's a really good point.
Steph, this is where I come into being an absolute cheapskate.
I thought I was the penny pincher. I thought I was my husband laughs at me because I'm like there, like using one tea bag for like two cups of tea and stuff like that. And when the hand soap starts to run out, you put water in it. Yeah, I am that person, but I never thought about using free prints. And there's like 3 of them, isn't there? There's free prints, there's Snapfish.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of companies that are similar.
So you could literally never spend much on your business. Well, I would say cards, but they're like the flyers that you put in, but you could just literally go through. Yeah,
they're 6 by 4 inches. So they're kind of like that's no reference whatsoever. That's ridiculous, but that much.
This big.
It's this big. And those of you who are listening, this big. No different. You're not going to be able to tell.
Basically like a normal photo album picture.
Yeah. So 6 by 4 inches. And the quality is really, really good.
Do you know what? I might actually have one to hand. Not a free print. No, I cannot get to it. My plant is on top doing this, and I'm thinking that the soil's going to go everywhere. But you guys have probably seen the kind of thing, but they're a decent size.
Yeah, I mean, even if that just gets you started, I think you get is it 40 a month? And like if you do it for all three of them, that's a good chunk a month that you're going to save some money for the first couple of months while you're in business.
Yeah, because I think I spend about £80 for 500 from Vistaprint. And that was like the cheapest place I could find.
Yeah. So when you're first starting out anyway, money is quite tight and you don't want to start out with like a gigantic loan. So if you can scrimp and save that way, that's quite good. I mean, when you get into a full-time business and you can't be bothered doing that anymore, then Vistaprint is perfect to do, and there's other places that you can get them from, and lovely independent businesses as well, where I get mine from. But when you're starting out, definitely do that. It's an option.
That is a really good idea. I've never thought about doing that.
Yeah.
Do you want to lead on with another point, because then that should even us up? So
so my next point would be to invest in good quality packaging. So when I first started out, I sell prints, and when I first started out, I got the brown do not bend envelopes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The standard ones, right? And they were absolutely fine until I started shipping abroad, and they even though they say do not bend, they're quite easy to bend.
Logic gone out the window.
So it's like saying to the postman, please don't bend it, and it's going to happen. It's not his fault. So and that lasted me probably a year or so, but after a while I was getting messages saying like, my print's getting damaged on the way, when it's going, and I was like, what can I do to make sure that these prints arrive in one piece? So what I do now is I don't even have one to hand, but I have like a little box, and it's a large letter box, so all my prints go as large letter, and I put my stamp on it, my logo stamp, and it's brown, it's quite basic, but it's kind of like 2.5 centimeters thick, so it's quite chunky, but it'll go as a large letter. And in there I always have my tissue paper, my flyers, and stickers, and I just think now I can guarantee that my prints will arrive safely. Like, there will not be any creases, any bent, any ripped, nothing. They will arrive safely. And that, yes, they are a little bit more expensive to ship, and they are a little bit more expensive to buy, but then I'm not getting the refund requests or the replacement requests, because it's getting there in one piece. So, and there's also room to make like really good gift wrap as well if you wanted to in those boxes. So that would be my next advice, would be to invest in good quality packaging, because that ties in with your brand as well, right?
Yeah, and the whole unboxing.
The whole feel of it, where you can and I often get messages saying that people buy my prints and they've bought prints from other places, and the unboxing experience is loads better than anywhere else. So I take pride in that. I love it. Yeah,
it's great when you get a good old message like, oh yeah, I'm going to be getting into that. I guess my sort of first point is, when you first start, it's really important to get it kind of straight in your mind that you have got two things to invest, right? One is time. And the thing with time is that you can't get it back, right? So when you first start out, it's time and money, cash. Like those are the two things that you have got at your disposal to invest in, right? Money, time, or rather time, money. So you've got to kind of get it straight in your mind that to invest time is the slow method to do things, right? Because you are doing everything yourself. So let's say that you're doing your stamping your boxes, making your orders, printing out your little cards, stuff like that. If you're doing everything yourself, for sure, you're saving a few bucks on the back end of it. But are you spending like an extra 2-3 hours a day doing this stuff? And you've got to kind of like weigh it up whether or not you're happy to give up your time for the moment, which obviously, as you've said, when you first start out, that's probably all you have really to invest. But when you start to grow and scale, things then start to change, and you then start to like swap your mindset over from let's just get metered to like DIY it all, I'm the DIY queen, to who can I pay to get in to get that job done?
Yeah.
And it does kind of like tie into things as well when you're starting to think about starting to streamline things. So, you know, if you do stamp your boxes, jiffy bags, whatever, you might look at that and say, okay, well, it's like 30 pence for me to buy a box, and then I spend probably 6 hours a month having to stamp them. Or do I spend like 40 pence and get a box that's got my logo written on it? And it's like weighing it up.
Yeah.
And obviously that's where like the notion of how much you pay yourself per hour comes in, because then you're treating yourself a little bit like an employee. Would you pay someone however much an hour to come in and do that versus you doing it yourself, right?
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Yeah. And I mean,
I spend ages, absolutely ages stamping my boxes. I could take a full day a month just stamping boxes. I mean, it might be really good for the old bingo wings, but
yeah,
but not great for time wise. Yeah.
No, it's definitely a mindset shift for sure. And it's weird because some people do get real mindset blocks around hiring people to do things. Like they say, oh, if I'm not stamping the box myself, is it even a handmade product? And it's like, of course it is. Like, you're still making the product.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's not going to affect the whole customer experience with your brand if someone else is stamping the box versus you doing it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And it's always a good idea as well to plan like this at least kind of like 6 months ahead. So something that we do obviously in Handmade Bosses, something that we've done is that we plan like a year ahead to kind of really make sure that we know the possibility of what we're going to have to outsource and spend, because the last thing you want is to get to it, be like overwhelmed AF and then be like, okay, I am drowning. I need to find someone like now to come in. Yeah. You want to have at least 2 to 3 months kind of bracket so that you can get someone in.
We have been having some great conversations so far on today's episode, but I've got something even more special for you. You know what it takes to be shown on page 1 on Etsy, right? Yep, you guessed it, increasing your conversion rate. My 3-step framework to skyrocket your Etsy conversion rate is my signature free masterclass. And boss, I'm saving a spot for you. Learn how to increase your conversion rate in 3 easy steps, as well as the top 3 mistakes I see Etsy shops make on a daily basis. Sign up in the show notes or head to handmadebosses.com/conversion. That's handmadebosses.com/conversion to claim your spot. Now let's get back to the episode, and I can't wait to see you there, boss.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. But I think as well, going back to that point, when you are starting out, it's kind of like you want to do everything yourself at first, and you kind of think, is employing someone, is that going to make me a bit too big when I'm just this small business?
Yeah.
Because I've and ahed so many times about getting somebody in to help me, and it would save me so much time. But then I always think, but it's just my business and it's like my little baby and I don't want to give it away. But it's something that is, like you say, it's a mindset block. Yeah. You need to change that, because I will never scale and I will never grow if I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not easy because, again, you know, we're crafters, we're so close to our business and what we do, and it can be like a real mind F, to be quite frank, trying to like get it in there and kind of be like, right, okay. And it's making the change from it being a nice little handmade business to I'm going to run this like a real business. Exactly. Not really a real business. That's probably like the wrong word to use, but I feel like that is the word that a lot of people do use. They're like, it's my little business versus a real business. And that's kind of, yeah,
I completely get that.
Yeah.
So my next point would be equipment. I think once you've got to a point where your branding is good, your packaging is good, you're getting sales daily, the next point would be to invest in better equipment. So, for example, when I first started out, I used to handwrite the addresses on my envelopes and take them to the post office, and the lady behind the counter would say, I can't read what that says.
Oh my God.
She was so polite. And I said, what can I do now to kind of like make this experience better for me to kind of be like, that's a 1.
That's a 7, that's a 1. There's a difference.
Yeah,
I know the difference.
honestly. But you don't, you can read your own writing most of the time, right?
I can't.
But she couldn't. So I invested in a little label printer, and it was only, oh gosh, what, 30, 40 pounds. Wasn't expensive, but it has made a huge difference. Now I just like, because I use drop and go, so I just leave them all in a pile and just like leave her there, and she can just do it when she's got time. But yeah, definitely a little label printer. But then as well, when I first started out, when I kind of were testing the waters with things, I had a little £30 printer, and I thought that'll do, and it did
like
work.
A normal printer,
yeah,
not a label printer. Gotcha.
Yeah, a normal printer for my prints, and that was fine. It was absolutely fine. But then people kept messaging me and saying, do you do A3 prints? And I thought, oh no, I need to get an A3 printer now. So my next printer was like £150, which was a massive step up, and that was so good. The quality was so good, and I was able to print A3. And then after a while, I was kind of like, I'm giving, because my branding has always been so good, not to be big-headed, but it has. Yeah.
Hey, we like bragging here.
I'm owning it. It's good. So when people opened my prints and the box, I didn't want them to be like, oh, it's just a print that I could have printed at home. When they open it now, and I've got like such good quality paper, well, card, and it's done on my really expensive printer now that cost me like £800. Wow. Like the difference is just
chalk and cheese.
Yeah, completely. And it's so worth it. But I would never have been able to start my business with an £800 printer, if that makes sense. You've got to grow and invest.
Yeah. I think actually that leads me neatly on to my next point, but you have to start off with what you have. I think a lot of businesses, I mean, let's put the finance side of it aside. You know, if you're spending like $2-3 grand to get things moving, then you're already $2-3 grand in the red, if that makes sense. But also, if you start off with what you have, you're training yourself to be resourceful, which you have to be if you're going to start a business, because there are going to be times where you have problems to solve and you have no obvious way to solve them, and you're going to have to really think outside the box. And I think doing that straight off the bat kind of trains you and your mindset to look for ways to solve a problem outside of the obvious ways to solve it, right? You've
got to be resourceful, you've got to be savvy and use what you've got so that you can be ready to invest when the time comes.
I mean, obvious things like if you cannot do what you want to do without buying a certain piece of equipment, then for sure you're going to have to, like, you know, invest it. But I think that like really starting to train yourself as to how to be resourceful is a really good thing to start off straight off the bat, because then you do carry that on, you know, like what you said with the free prints. You know, like I bet from that you've been like, I wonder what else I can do. Like, I wonder what else I can kind of do to like save a few bob. And there's nothing wrong with that. Even now I'm like, exactly. It's like, how can I save a few bob? Okay, well, I can buy like 3,000 boxes rather than like 100 of them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then you have the other ways, which are, you know, which you have to dig a little bit deeper. But again, if you start doing that from point A, by the time you scale and get to point like D, you're going to be really good at it.
And it does transfer as well, because I remember when I first set up my email mailing list, and I used MailChimp. And on the free version, which I'm still on, by the way,
that's fine,
because I am super savvy. On the free version, it doesn't let you automate, like have a welcome sequence. But I figured out that you can send an email after on the first day, an email on the second day, and an email on the third day. That's absolutely fine. And that's my welcome sequence. It's not directly a welcome sequence that I've set up where it's official, but it works as a welcome sequence. So I don't have to pay for it.
And I think a lot of people they kind of avoid doing things. Like, so many people watching this and I'm sure if you're watching this and you're like, I haven't even really done the email thing yet, it's a really good like little exercise to do, to be like, am I procrastinating because it's going to cost me money, or am I procrastinating because I don't want to think too hard about it? I know there's ways to solve the problem, i.e. I don't want to spend anything on having the MailChimp Pro, like what you've done. Are you avoiding it because of that, or are you doing it because you're scared to spend, or you just don't want to, take the time to like work out a workaround? I think a lot of tools, I say probably good 85% of tools you don't have to pay for, right? Like
completely.
Like for example, we use Later, right, and that is free. I mean, we used the free account for a long time. In fact, I think do we still use a free account, or do we use a paid account? Can't remember.
I think we don't use the paid account features, so check on that, Steph, because you could be saving money.
Could be saving some money there. What?
Because we don't actually use the paid features if we are paying for them.
Exactly that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna actually write a note.
Make a note quick.
Make a note. Check Later, because I don't want to spend unnecessary coin on getting that stuff done.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of tools, there are free workarounds, but again, it's the time versus money aspect. So for example, Later, yes, you can schedule out stuff for Facebook, and you can use their native. So if you go and you do a post, then you click next, you have like a little date box in the bottom right hand corner to schedule. Yeah. So you can do it that way. However, Later is literally like a click and drop thing, and then you just go blah, 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 copy and paste your caption, whatever, and then you're done. So it's kind of like, you don't have to pay for tools, but they are going to save you time in the long run.
Yeah, but when you're first starting out, that first year in business, like you say, Later is perfect, MailChimp is perfect free, Canva is absolutely brilliant on the free version Canva as well. But when you do get to a point where you're like, now I need to invest, I need to save time rather than money, then the paid versions are equally as good.
Yeah, no, I think that you can definitely, I remember when I first started my business, I started, because I'm a spreadsheet nerd, I did the spreadsheets before I started the business. That's how much of a nerd I am. And I had like this little finance spreadsheet with like business stuff, and when I first started my business, for the first 6 months I only had 2 things on there. I can't remember what the first one is, but the second one was I invested in an accountant, literally like straight off the bat, because I was like, I can't even read the thing that explains how to do the thing online. So I was like, I don't have a hope. So yeah, it's kind of like you can be very proud of how lean you are when you first start, but I think that as you dive deeper into it, you are going to have to bite the bullet.
Yeah, I think you hit a limit, don't you, when you're in business, and to go further and to scale and grow, you need to break through that barrier. And that is where you kind of need to save. Your time is precious now. So outsource, let's pay for things.
I think the biggest saver of time, actually thinking about like tools and stuff like that, I think for me the biggest saver of time has been investing in education. Like that has been the biggest saver of time, because what you're doing is that, like, for example, I took a course. Now, what was it on? I've taken so many courses. I think it was a photography course on how to use one of these, like not a DSLR camera, because I actually did photography in college, but I didn't know how to use one of these. I could use the DSLRs and the old film cameras, because I'm that old, but I didn't know how to use one of these. And I actually bought a course teaching me how to do this. And most recently, when I bought this webcam, I actually bought a course on how to like make sure that it was all set up, because when I first plugged it in, it was terrible. Like the quality was so bad. And I'm sure I could have learned how to do it, but it would have taken me like 3 months, and how many hours of wasted time. I could have just done that, but time for me right now is precious, so it's like weighing it up as to exactly.
And like when I first met you and I took the Handmade Bosses course, I spent the first 2 years doing Etsy and setting it all up completely wrong. but I'd tried to learn it myself. And then until I met you and we had the course that told me exactly what to do, it's kind of like, oh, I wish I had this sooner, because it's literally taken me 2 years to get to this point. I need to scrap it all and restart and do it properly. And now it's perfect. I just need that initial thing, like you say, to do it properly. It's like when you buy a flat pack piece of furniture and you need to do it, and like, I don't need the instructions, I'll be fine. And then 4 hours later, you're like, I wish I had the instructions from the get-go. It would have taken me half an hour.
And it's like you're only trying to build a coffee table.
Yeah. It's only 4 pieces.
It's only like leg 1, leg 2, leg 3, and maybe even leg 4.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, yeah.
You get included.
But I think that, with the course, like, not only have I put everything, like, literally step by step, the roadmap, all the good stuff, but you're also getting a bird's eye view of the 5 years that I've been on Etsy, the mistakes that I've made, how I've overcome them. So you're buying almost like, not only are you buying the expertise, but you're buying the fast track pass. It's like when you go to like Thorpe Park and you buy, if you don't know Thorpe Park, all right, let's use Disney World, right? That's probably like a more universal thing. But when you can now buy like the fast passes, where for like, I think it's like $200 for like a day, and you skip to the front of the queue for every single ride. So it means like someone can come in and do like the entire park within like 2 days, rather than spending probably a good 3 to 4 hours a day queuing in ridiculously hot lines.
Yeah, this is it. And as a parent as well, that is going to save me so many arguments.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because you can keep a child entertained for 5 minutes in a queue while we go to Asda and, buy some shopping. And that's hard enough.
Yeah.
But if you're in a busy theme park and you've got like to spend, like we went to Legoland when the kids were a bit younger, and we sat and queued in every single queue. And then the next time we went, we were like, we are buying the fast passes, because the kids were miserable, horrible little creatures by the end of it. Well, the second time it was brilliant, because we were like, let's go on this ride, and they had fun. So yeah. We've gone well off topic, but you get our metaphors.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're trying to work out Etsy for yourself and it's not working out, you then become the annoying little creature.
Yes, definitely.
Do you want to move on to more of your points, because you've got a few more?
Yeah. So the next point I would invest in is materials. So it depends obviously on your business, but for me, I would never, ever, ever scrimp on the quality of the card that I use for my prints, ever. Ever. And there's been a point of course, over the last couple of years where that price has gone up with the wholesalers and stuff like that. And you kind of got to be like, but I need that quality, so I'm going to pay it. I've never, ever scrimped on it. And if you start to think, that's gone up £1 now, I'm going to go get something else, and the quality is horrendous, it's just going to throw you. So just always invest. Like, I always have the mindset, my husband's not like this, but I am, where if you buy it once and it lasts, like if you buy a really good quality car and it lasts, or you buy a really good quality computer or printer and it lasts you for ages.
Yeah.
See, my husband's not like that. He'll buy the cheap, nasty tat. And then in a month, he'll say, like, for smartwatches, right? I'm going off topic again, right? But I've always had my Apple Watch.
Yeah.
Because I use it daily, day in, day out, daily. But my husband's always bought like these knockoff £20 ones. And he's like, it doesn't work, it's not good. And I'm like, because you're just buying rubbish. Stop wasting money. That's going to eventually cost more than just buying. So it was his birthday on Friday, and I bought him a proper smartwatch. He thinks it's the bee's knees now.
It's like, how much money have you wasted on?
This is it, because it's just a waste of money. So why I can't? It's very cheap, my husband. I love him dearly, but he is very, very cheap. So yes, invest in proper materials that work, that are of good quality, and you'll be fine.
Yes, I've made this mistake many a time. Actually, yeah, I think with mine it was card as well, because when I started doing the message cards, I bought like that linen style card.
Yeah.
not realizing that it would affect how it prints, because I got
Yes.
really deep, like I was going to say pile, but you know what I mean, right? That's carpet, Steph, but you get.
Yes, let's rephrase that quickly.
Like it's really deep, the etchings on the paper, and it just, I spent like a good £50 on like bulk ordering this lovely cream card. It would look lovely for like wedding invites or stuff like that, but for my message cards it looked really weird. I'm pretty sure it's still sat in my drawer actually, but I'm like, I will find a use for this one day. But yeah, and I spent that, and then I was like, no, I just need to get really good quality pure white cards so that what I'm making on my PC comes out the right colors, because obviously if you're printing on cream card and you've got like a pink color, it's not going to come out the same, and I learned that the hard way. But as my dad always says, and my dad is the king of this phrase, pay cheap, pay twice.
Oh yeah, which it's basically what I said, but yeah, that's such a good way to do it.
Pay cheap, pay twice.
That's my husband all over. That is, and it's not even twice. It's like multiple times. I think he's got like 4 smartwatches in the cupboard now that are absolutely naff. Even I can't give them to the kids because the kids would be like,
"Thanks.
What is this?" Do you know what I mean? They're just so rubbish. Oh, so yes, invest in proper, good quality materials.
And I think also as well, like, you know, when we're talking about, you know, if we're looking at a good example is like clothing. If you're spending like a £5 on a white t-shirt, then, you know, the white t-shirt's not going to stay white for very long. It's going to go a manky grey colour. Whereas if you spend like £20-30 on a nice crisp white t-shirt, chances are it's going to last. And then you're also going to feel better wearing it. And I think that does like tie into business. If you spend on good quality equipment, you know, all that good stuff, you're going to feel better when you're fulfilling orders, when you're running the business. And you're going
to get a lot more job satisfaction from it though as well. Like you're going to be proud every single order that you do and you put into the box and you ship it and you're like, that is good. Nobody can come to me and say the card's naff, the box is rubbish. Because it's not, because you've invested in really good quality stuff.
No, that is great. And I think a good indication of this is like what you said, when you start to get prints that are bent and that rip in like transit and stuff like that. I mean, with yours, it was mostly the not the box, but the things that you used beforehand, the do not bend things. That's it. And I think that if you're getting messages like that over and over and over again, it's like with me, when I first got my engraver. Now, I was going to get a laser engraver. I think when I first started Handmade Bosses, it was on order, it was coming, and then it got cancelled because of couldn't get it shipped over. But in the end, I was like, right, okay, well, people are still getting engraved pieces, which they love. Okay, the laser engraver would probably bump things up by another 20% order-wise, but do I really need this? Is it going to make that much of a difference? So I think it can go the other way, is that when you start to invest and you start to make the money, you then want the best of everything. And it's like, do you really need to have a fat laser engraver sat? When we first moved in, my dad actually had to reinforce the floor because this laser engraver was so heavy. So in the corner of my room now, it's got a concrete floor in a certain part where this laser engraver was going to go. So it was definitely a go-go. It just never turned out that way. But yeah, you can go too far the other way. So always stick in the middle.
I mean, there's plenty of, like, obviously printers are going to be the bane of my life for the rest of my life. Honestly. Yes. Regardless of how much they cost. And I could get like a printer that's worth thousands and thousands, but my printer that I have now is perfect.
Yes.
Like, it's so good for the card, like you say, because I use linen card and I've tried a few different printers, and sometimes it'll just smudge because it's too deep, or it's just not good for that printer. But this printer is just chef's kiss.
That's really funny. Does it fit really in your little under cupboard office?
Oh, do you know, I need to show everybody this, don't I? I won't today because behind this is a mess. But I will. It does fit. It's not massive because I can still use it for like you know, when you've got to print your bank statements to send off to the mortgage advisor, I can still use it for that. It's fine.
Oh, that's great.
That's good.
Because some can be like proper beastly, can't they?
They are big, but I think you have the old printer that I had. It's smaller than that.
Oh, so I've got a Canon Pixma, what was that say? 8? No, that's an I, Steph, put your glasses on. IX6850, if anyone's interested. I do get questions about this, actually. It's a really good printer. The only thing is that I have to replace it every 2 years. It's only like about £150, but I have to replace it every 2 years because it starts to print lines. And my husband's actually taken it apart because he works in IT, so that's his jam, right? Definitely not mine, but it's his. And he's taken it apart, and he says that over time, because I'm printing quite thick card, it jams up something inside, and it's a component that you can't replace because Canon don't make it easy for you to fix your own printer. God knows why. So yeah, that's the only downside. But again, it's a good printer to get you moving.
It is, yeah. See, I've got an Epson now, and it's an eco tank, which is a good way to save money as well, because I've had this 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I've never had to buy ink for it.
Really?
Yeah, because it's an eco tank.
Ooh.
It comes, when you buy it, it comes with 2 sets of ink. And I've never had to buy new ink yet.
My God, that's awesome.
Brilliant. And I print every single day.
Because I've got a drawer behind me, like literally a big drawer filled with ink. Now, again, I don't buy the official Canon ink. I'm going to hold my hands up. I do buy the cheap knockoff ink. Yes, it does leak sometimes, but I have a wipeable desk because I want to save that coin. But but they're not the best. They do clog up. And if you don't use them for like a couple of weeks, if I am away, I come back and I know that I'm just going to have to just change them all. But I do get them refilled as well. So
yeah, see, that's really good. So that's a way that I've managed to save money, because I was spending, and I think every time you get it, is it like £80-90 for a new set of ink for that printer? It's quite expensive.
I think I paid £25 for a set.
Yeah, the knockoff ones.
No, I think that was no, it could be the knockoff ones. I think I pay for the knockoff ones. I think I pay like £18 for 5 sets. Whereas the official ones like £25 to £30 for like just one set. With like but that's without the page black, because Canon printers have that big fat page black tank, which is, if you're printing like documents and stuff, that's the one that gets eaten up really, really quickly.
So it saved me a lot of money, but the way you're describing it is, what's it called, a maintenance box, and I replaced a maintenance box in this printer, my Epson printer, and that's for all the junk that's like spat out and all the ink that's got nasty. So I have to replace that, but I think that's only about a tenner, and I think I've only replaced it twice in 2 years, so it's not a lot. And obviously I'm saving on ink, so yes, the printer is more expensive, but I've saved a shed load of money on ink.
Oh, God, that sounds awesome. I kind of wish I'd done that now. See, I paid cheaper, now I'm paying twice. I'm just saying, I still make the same mistake. What's one of your next points?
My next one would be, so after you've done everything, DIY'd it yourself, then you need to get to a point where you need professionals. I didn't know how to word that to be not offensive. You need help. You need experts.
You need help.
So I always got somebody to do my branding after a while, because I can sit there for hours and hours and hours, like you say, redesigning my business card. It's never going to be 100% how I want it, and in 2 months' time I'm redoing it. If I've paid somebody some money, it's staying that way for a while.
Yes, that's the point, because if you do it yourself, you're always tempted to carry on doing it yourself, and your branding changes every month. But if you pay someone to do it and it's done right, then this is it. And then building a website, like you can do Shopify on your own, and I have, and it's literally taken me a couple of days to do, and it's absolutely fine. But there are some really good people out there that will build you a website, and if you've got, like you say, no time, and you've got orders that need fulfilling, and you've got, X, Y, and Z that you need to do, give somebody some money to do your website for you in the background. You know that it's going to be done 100% right. It's going to be coded properly.
because sometimes you go onto a page and you're like, edit code? What does that mean? What is a code? Get someone to do it, outsource it, because it will up level you. You're kind of at this point, like I said earlier, where you kind of do everything yourself and it's great. But if you're going to grow and scale, you need to break through that barrier. You need to start outsourcing. So that would be my next point would be, yes, if you don't have the time to do a proper job, get someone to do it in for you.
Yeah. And I think, because we could talk about this for hours, but I think to kind of keep this episode reasonably short, is that my last point coming off of that is, it may be worth, when you've been in business for like a year or so and you're starting to like look at your task list, however you do things. We use Asana, so there are times when I look at my tasks and I'm like, how can I outsource that? But I think hire a assistant, even if it's only for 3 to 4 hours a week, to take the tasks off your plate that, number one, take up the most amount of time. And if you're in the course, I do have like a little, I think it's in phase 5. I want to say it's in phase 5. And it's like a complete work through as to how to automate, outsource, and something else, all of your tasks, so that you take your time back away from your business, right? Which is how I literally only work 4 to 5 hours a week in my Etsy shop. Because I outsource a lot of things. So I think that even if you can get someone to come in and do your inbox for like 1 or 2 days a week, so that you get those 1 or 2 days a week back, if you can get someone to come in and do your socials, and you get them to come in and like schedule stuff on later, or on the native Facebook thing that you can schedule things out. I wouldn't recommend, I'm just going to preface this by saying I don't recommend getting someone into your Etsy shop, because if you give someone your Etsy login, then there is a risk of if they open up a shop and then they get shut down, then you would get shut down. However, you can outsource a heck of a lot outside of Etsy, right? Even your, really what the only stuff I do is that I list on Etsy. I contact, so I respond to messages, but even that I've like written like all of the snippets and saved messages and all that kind of stuff out, so literally just copy and paste. And because of COVID, obviously I'm doing all of my orders, but that's literally all I do. Like most of the other stuff is outsourced. You don't have to get someone into your Etsy shop. You can obviously outsource a lot of the other things as well, which also means that you're growing your business kind of on autopilot. If you're getting someone in to like do your Instagram posts, Facebook posts, Pinterest, Twitter, whatever, you're actually growing your business on autopilot whilst you're still carrying on chugging away doing the Etsy side of things.
Yeah, and that's what you wanted to do in the first place, right? You didn't set up a business to think, I want to spend all day coding a website today. No. You just want to make, I wanted to make prints. And then it's an eye-opener when you come into business and you're like, this is what I actually have to do.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, that would be my last point as well, is to get somebody in, to hire somebody to help. Because even if I do like, if I get my niece in to stamp my boxes for me for a full day and give her a couple of quid, perfect. That's going to save me so much time. I'm acting like she's 5. She's not. She's 20. Do you know what I mean? I am paying her a proper wage, but she's not Googling. But I could give her like, £30 if it takes her 3 hours to do a load of boxes that would originally take me days. And that's 3 hours that I could be doing so many other things.
Yeah.
So definitely. And like I say, you don't have to have somebody, an official person that has to come in. You have to hire them and do it properly. Get your mum in to help you do your orders now that COVID's lifted. Yeah. Get your husband to go to the post office for you. You know, just like, honestly, my kids help me bring stuff up because my office is right at the top of the house. So I'm like, kids, let's have a time, see who can be the fastest to get all of these parcels to my office. It's so good. I don't even have to pay them.
Make it fun. I mean,
you was 5 seconds slower. Oh.
Yeah, no, I used to hire my mum, and my husband used to come in because he works at a school. Obviously, when they're off of school, he gets more time. So that was kind of my sort of time for him to come in and help me with that. But he used to get quite a lot of time off over Christmas. So he used to come in and help me because that's obviously my busiest time. So I was like, good, you're here. Now get to work again.
Yeah, you don't need to put an advert out on, you know,
Craigslist or
stuff like that. You don't need to. If you wanted to, go ahead do that. But if you've got like a family member who's like part-time that could work for you for a few hours, do that. It doesn't have to be official. It's not as scary as it sounds. No.
And I think that you know, you've just got to look at what you do in a day. It's really, really easy. You just got to look at what you do in probably more like a week or a month, and outsource the things that either you're not very good at and you don't enjoy. Do those first, and then you outsource the things that you do enjoy but you're not very good at. Let's do those next, and then you start to gradually kind of work your way up. But yeah, I think business will become a lot more enjoyable when you can get rid of all the tasks off your plate that you despise.
Yeah, and get back to the craft that you actually love doing.
Exactly. Shall we leave it there? Because we can talk about this all day long, and we'll probably do another episode, maybe expanding on some of these points. But if you have any episode recommendations, do let us know. Best place would be to reach us on the gram, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we are at Handmade Bosses on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll put links in the episode description. I'm not entirely sure. Episode notes, is that what it's called?
Show notes, Steph.
Show notes. Show notes. It'll be in the show notes. And there'll also be the free masterclass in there. So if you have an Etsy shop and you want to increase your conversion rate, which if you don't know, that's the king on Etsy. That's what you need to do to be shown on page 1. That'll also be in the show notes. Not the description. We're not on YouTube. That'll be in the show notes below. And yeah, we really hope that you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to listen to our others because we do have some more on here. Leave us a review, download, subscribe, do whatever you do on podcasts. I'm not very good at this.
I need to go for a lie down now.
Yeah. And we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to check the show notes for some more helpful links and also a link to our website as well. Also, you can watch the video version of this over on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to get your free spot on our masterclass, the 3-step framework to skyrocket your Etsy conversion rate at handmadebosses.com/conversion. That's handmadebosses.com/conversion. We would also love it if you could leave us a review on iTunes, as it really helps us to reach more bosses in need. Subscribe to the show, and we will see you on the next episode.